Welcome to They Mostly Pot Out at Night. Mostly, I am Salem, joined by my co-host Graveyard.
Hello.
This is episode 113 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. So last week, the horrors took place during World War II. This week, the evil originates in that war, but somehow seeps into our present and corrupts everything it touches. Nazis that have lived to a ripe old age, Nazi ghosts, and Nazi zombies will all be covered in our return to World War II. So this week we're doing three movies. Again, they're all, they're events that, started the horror, the film, whatever. It happens in World War II, but then it doesn't actually, reach conclusion until the present.
Yes.
Present is loose. It could be anywhere from the late 90s through now. But that's Apt Pupil in 98, The Outpost in 2008, and Dead Snow in 2009. So we'll start off with Apt Pupil from 1998. Now, the premise of this film is fairly simple. It is a kid who learns about the Holocaust in school and in high school, and decides that that's not enough. He needs to know more. So he gets obsessed. He goes to the library, reads like every Nazi war crime book that they have. All the horrible Holocaust pictures and things, and SS officers, all the normal things you'd find from researching World War II. But he needs more. So because he's been looking at all these pictures and knows who all these people are, he through a magical coincidence
Magical.
finds not only an old Nazi, but an old Nazi who was the commandant of one of the concentration camps. It's a fictional camp that they made up for the film. It's not one of the real camps, I think, out of just respect for the people that were at the camp. So it's a fictional camp, and it's a fictional officer. But the everything else is rooted in real history. So what he does is basically follows him around, gets all this evidence, pictures, fingerprints, all these things to like verify that it's him. And then he confronts him, and he's like, obviously he's an old man. He does have a German accent. But he's, basically says like, oh, I need you to tell me everything you know about, the Holocaust and everything you know about being a horrible Nazi. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So he basically confronts him with all the evidence that he has. The old man threatens to call the cops, but kind of backs down when he realizes that, he's kind of stuck. He's kind of caught. So he basically agrees to the terms. And the terms are, the kid says, you teach me everything you know about the horrors of, Nazi atrocities in World War II from a first-hand account. And then I won't tell the police. And he's actually like, why? Why are you doing this? He's just, I just have to know. I just want to know. I'm just curious. I guess it's also kind of relevant that he's in high school. Yes, he's a senior in high school, but he's also only 16.
Right.
So he's like super smart, like prodigy, got skipped ahead a couple years. So he's supposed to graduate when he's 16. Anyway, this is his senior year. He's had nothing but straight A's his whole school career up until this point. So this goes on for months. He goes over to the old man's house every day, listens to these horrible, horrible stories, and then like can't sleep at night, has like horrible, horrible nightmares because of the shit that he's being told. Having nightmares about, the people being stuck in the ovens with the gas and stuff. People being stuck in like, the showers, like he goes in the gym shower and he like, hallucinates that he's in like the showers in, with the gas house, they used to trick him saying, hey, go take a shower. And then they lock the door, like, so he's doing that kind of stuff. And it super affects his schoolwork to the point where he drops down. He's not quite failing, but he's getting like C's and D's, which is for him is like basically failing because he's had nothing but A's up until this point. So he basically, the Nazi guy, right? The old man, his Nazi name was Kurt. I think his fake name was Arthur. Doesn't
Something
matter.
like that, yeah.
Just call him Nazi. So he is. I mean, the kid buys him like a Nazi uniform from a costume shop and everything, and like forces him to wear it and then march around. It's not good. Anyway, so at this point, the kid has had the upper hand the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, the Nazi is basically like, hey, your grades are real bad and stuff. We could come up with a plan to like get you out of this, but you got to like, do the work. So he, helps him like forge his dad's name or whatever. And then the next day he goes to school and he gets called to a meeting with his guidance counselor, who's played by David Schwimmer.
Yes.
And a very not, David Schwimmer place you'd expect him to be. He doesn't show up till like 45 minutes into the movie, which is funny because this is the late 90s. He was pretty big at that point. Anyway, so basically, the Nazi pretends to be his grandpa, basically tells the guidance counselor, his dad is never home because he's working too much and the mom is a drunk. So he's losing focus because he can't really study at home. So he basically comes to the agreement that he's going to go to the old man's, grandpa's house after school to study. And that if he has basically a month before his finals. And if he can get all of his grades up to an A, if he can get an A on every single final, the guidance counselor will erase his other crappy grades that he had and just let him keep an A for the whole semester. And he's like, oh, this is impossible. This is impossible. And the old man's like, no, it's not. You just got to do it. But at this point, he's got a little bit of an upper hand here, right? Because now, he doesn't know, he knows he's a Nazi war criminal, but also now, if that comes out, now, the guidance college is going to know that he used him to get, a way out of, getting bad grades in school. And now, so he's got a little bit of an upper hand here. So he basically says, no more stories. You got to study, get all your shit done. There's a scene here basically at this point where he gets, the Nazi gets really drunk, puts on the uniform just as kind of a joke. And then some homeless guy that's going through his garbage can sees him dressed up in this outfit.
Poor Casey Jones.
Yeah, exactly. Now, nothing happens at that point, but he does see the guy later on. He goes to the store to buy more bourbon, and he's coming back on the bus, and the guy kind of comes up to him. He doesn't say anything about him being a Nazi, but he knows this is the guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's basically like, hey, can I have a drink? Can I have a drink? And so at this point, he kind of, the Nazi feels like he's probably going to start like blackmailing him if he doesn't do something. So he brings him in and is like, oh yeah, let's drink together. And so he's drinking together. The homeless guy at this point kind of thinks it's going one way and it's not. He thinks it's going to be like, oh yeah, you can do whatever you want to me as long as you give me money in the morning.
Maybe,
right?
maybe you can give me $10.
Right.
maybe even 20.
Right. Yeah. So he thinks it's going into, one way to where he's just gonna, do whatever he wants to him and he's gonna get money out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it basically goes the other way to where the old man tries to kill him because he's afraid he's gonna tell people he saw him in a Nazi uniform, which I don't think it would have mattered at this point.
Well, I also think he was getting back into his old ways that has been dormant for 40 years.
Well, the original, this scene is basically a callback to the original story. Now, I think it's a little bit out of place in the movie version of this, but it's basically a callback to what happened in the original story. Did you read the original story?
It's been a very long time.
In the original story, it goes a lot deeper to the point where the kid and the old man, because the old man, the old Nazi man, basically unlocks this like evil part of the kid, right? And he becomes that Nazi officer, like ordering the kid to do horrible shit, and the kid is kind of like down with it. So They start killing a bunch of homeless people. Like a lot. And that's like the thing that they do is they start like doing, quote unquote experiments by killing homeless people and people, on the fringes and that kind of stuff. There's horrible stuff that happens in there where there's like this weird rape scene with the underage Jewish girl. It's not nice. Obviously, none of that is in the movie, but in the book, it's there. It's a lot different in the book. The basically the Nazi guy gets a lot more control of him in the book than he does in the film.
Well, I mean, let's face it, the kid's pretty fucked up as it is.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that there's no doubt in that, and it does go that direction, but just not the direction that the book goes. Sorry, I'll talk about we'll talk about the book anyway. So, he stabs the guy and pushes him down the stairs, and as he's going down the stairs to kind of finish him off, he has a heart attack. Now, obviously, he can't call the police because there's a half dead guy in his basement, right? So he calls the kid and basically says, "Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. That before this point, he kind of finalized the upper hand by saying he wrote out everything that the kid knew about him and everything that they talked about, and put it in a safety deposit box that is going to be opened upon his death, so that when if anything happens to him, if he dies." Everybody's going to find out that he knew that he was a Nazi war criminal for like a year at this
point. As essentially was in training to be one.
Right. So yeah, like he's going to get in trouble too. Like, he's going to, even if he just tells the police, he's going to tell them about that he was involved in, but whatever. At this point, he's kind of like broken his bonds, but he kind of has the upper hand on the kid now. Sorry. So he calls him, tells the kid, "Hey, if I die, then you're going to get in trouble. You need to come over here and help me." So he goes over there. He basically locks him in the basement. He has a confrontation and ends up killing the homeless guy. Not really on purpose, more out of like fear. But he does. He kills him. They end up, getting rid of whatever or cleaning it up, calling the ambulance. They
very poorly, I might add. And how quickly they find the body.
Right. So. Yeah, they take him off to the hospital, like, "Oh, the kid, you saved his life," whatever. He goes to the hospital, and through another magical coincidence,
I'd say even bigger coincidence.
This is an even bigger. Yeah, I would agree. This is an even bigger coincidence than the first one.
Yeah,
the bigger coincidence is that in the hospital room, he is sharing it with a Holocaust survivor who was at one of the camps that he was the officer of.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy had killed his wife and his children, but somehow he survived.
And recognizes this guy 40 years later.
Right. So he basically tells the authorities, the Israelis get involved, the police get involved. They basically unmask him as being this guy, right? And so they go to his house, they basically put him on lockdown. He's got police guard, and they go to his house to start checking around. They go to his house, they find the dead body
immediately.
Yeah, I mean, because he's just laying in the basement. Apparently, they don't actually show him, but like,
well, I thought he was dug up and that he was buried.
Whatever. Yeah. It does. They don't actually show it, but it's whatever. They find it.
Yeah,
they know what goes on. Basically, so they're going to go to the place to like formally arrest him. While he's doing that, he manages to take his IV out and blow air into his own veins, causing another heart attack, and he dies.
Yep.
So he dies without actually getting convicted of his crimes. Like, he was technically caught and had to kill himself, but he technically escaped.
He went out on his own terms.
Right. So then, the kid, they interview the kid, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't know anything." He's like, "Oh, when he had a heart attack, I was reading him a letter." Like, "Oh, what did the letter say?" "Oh, I don't know. It was in German." "You speak German?" "No."
"Where's the letter?"
"Okay, where's the letter?" "I don't know. Maybe somebody took it." But they basically just like, whatever, we'll just let it go. So the official authorities let it go.
Very unconvincing side from the kid, I would say, but
right. But yeah, they don't have any real evidence, and there's like, what are they going to do with the kid? Like, the guy's an obvious Nazi war criminal. Like, what involvement could the kid possibly have? Right. Is what they're thinking at this point, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, that whole kind of thing ends. He goes to graduation, David Schwimmer, the guidance counselor, comes up to his parents, who basically he sees that they're like, apple pie and and baseball kind of people, not the work long hours and drunk looking people. And he's like, "Oh, I was hoping your grandpa would be here." And they're like, "Oh, well, grandpa's in a wheelchair. He can't really make it out here." At that point, he's like, "Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is not the same guy." And then the bell rings. They have to go to graduation. They go to graduation. They manage to escape before um, David Schwimmer comes back, and then basically the last scene of the film is David Schwimmer goes to the house to talk to the parents because he knows something's up. The parents aren't there, but the kid is there. And he basically says, like, "Hey, something's going on. Like, your grandpa, is this Nazi war criminal. I saw it in the newspaper. Like, you got some explaining to do." Which is, hey, there's a lot of reasons, a lot of things he could have said to try to like throw him off the scent, but he like instead decides to go on the attack and basically say like,
Don't
"Well,
touch
if
me,
you do
man.
anything, I'm gonna say you raped."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, uh, okay." And then the movie ends.
Yep.
And that's it. Now, the original story ends quite differently. In the original story, the kid actually like goes crazy and basically becomes Charles Whitman,
Mm.
where he goes up into a tree and starts shooting kids and eventually gets shot by the police and dies. That's how the book ends.
A little bit different.
Yeah, a little bit,
A little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's a little more, I guess. I don't even want to call it hopeful. It's kind of hopeful because the kid's still alive, but he's arguably it's a worse ending because the kid is now like become
Right.
the Nazi.
Right. They kind of end it with, Ian McKellen's lifeless body transitioning into the kid, saying he's essentially carried on the legacy of manipulation and everything.
Right. So where as the book story basically comes off like the kid was super curious about World War II, and this guy manipulated the shit out of him into making him like a Nazi war criminal kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the book, I mean, it's novella to be honest. It's a short story.
Yeah.
It's the kid. It starts when the kid's in like junior high, and it ends with his high school graduation. So the book, this has taken years. Now in the movie, it's only 1 year.
Right.
So it's like they had to like shorten a lot of these timelines of what's going on. There's also a couple of scenes of like him not being able to like relate with kids his own age anymore. There's even like girls that are throwing themselves at him, and he's just like whatever.
Literally
like,
throwing themselves at it.
Yeah, and he's just like not into it at all. Like he's like whatever, I don't really care, because he's I guess so bothered by the Nazi war crimes. I don't know. Nazi war crimes, I don't think would have thrown all the 16-year-olds I knew off the set. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think he's necessarily bothered. I think he was just obsessed, infatuated.
Obsession I get, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
you're 16 years old. You're in a car with a girl who is obviously down. Like, what are you doing?
Right. Yeah.
But I guess just showing where he's at. And I guess it's a Stephen King short story. I guess we should specify that. And also this movie was directed by Bryan Singer.
This is the movie that a lot of allegations started from.
Well, yeah, a lot of stuff happened, but nothing went down because the allegations came from that shower scene I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, naked young boys in there. But in the original, they were trying to get it done quickly. Again, this is the official story. They were trying to get it done quickly. So he said, okay, everybody strip down. We're going to do the shower scene. And there was apparently underage boys in there that complied with the order. And they obviously didn't use that footage in the film. They brought in like, actors that were at least 18 to do it. But there was a point in time where he was. Now, the official story is that, that was just a mistake. Whatever. Nothing was done. All the I know there was some settlements behind the scenes, but no official charges came out of it.
Yeah, but this is the start. Really, Bryan Singer's work with Ian McKellen and Bruce Davidson, who were obviously Magneto and Senator Kelly, just 2 years later in X-Men.
Right.
I mean, what was? Do you remember your first time seeing this in on the rewatch as well?
Oh, I don't. I have no idea when the first. I've seen it several times. I mean, it probably was around when it came out. It was pretty big when it came out.
Yes.
I don't know. Late '90s were a crazy time. I don't remember. I don't. I know I saw it right around when I know I didn't see it in the theater. I know it was when it came on video, but I know I rented it on VHS as soon as it was available on video. So I
Right.
don't whenever that was.
Yeah. I mean, this is the time frame of Stephen King adaptations that weren't really what you think Stephen King stories would be. Like, Shawshank Redemption, Green Mile, Hearts of Atlantis. This movie, it's not his typical bag. You know, in this, more human side stories, right?
Well, I mean, this is a typical Stephen King story, I would say.
But I mean, he usually does more supernatural elements than just evil people. That's just my thinking. It wasn't. It was like I'll say like the more like cinema oriented movies as well. Because let's face it, his Dollar Baby has made some really bad versions of his movies and his work. But like I said, the big production, with Frank Darabont doing, Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption, right? Like putting a bigger emphasis on his works. That's what I thought at that point in time when I saw this. To me, it's just very different style of movie for a Stephen King movie.
I mean, yeah, the movie is made differently. I'm just saying the original story, as written, is a pretty typical Stephen King short story.
Yeah,
But
but
the
movie
movie,
wise, yeah,
as filmed, as portrayed, yes, is not a normal Stephen
right.
King story.
All right, do you want to start with your highlights?
Sure.
Okay.
So, I mean, number one is Ian McKellen is outstanding in this.
Yes.
Obviously, I knew who he was before this point, but I mean, he's been around we just saw him in The Keep, right? Which
10
was
years before this,
yeah,
yeah.
which was 83. It was 15 years
Oh,
before.
yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, I knew who he was, but I mean, this is pretty much the age where I really started respecting him, like a lot.
Mhm.
Like realizing that just about everything he's in, he's done fantastic in, and this is probably the one that I think got him the most like buzz. 'Cause I believe he won an Oscar for this.
I believe so.
I think he won like best supporting actor. Um, I don't know why he wasn't a main actor because I guess the kid was the main actor, but I mean like he should have been co-actor, whatever. But I think he won best supporting actor for this film. But anyway, obviously everyone knew at this point how good he was. So you know, from this point on, he was. I mean, he still did a lot of goofy stuff. Like you said, he was Magneto in the X-Men. So he still did a lot of stuff, I guess, for money, right?
But
But
he also was Gandalf, so
right, yeah. So whatever. He's a great actor. I think this is the movie. I think this is the movie I really realized that. Yeah.
Mhm.
But he is fantastic. David Schwimmer and that mustache. I you don't see David Schwimmer with a mustache very often, and it is horrible in this movie.
Yes.
But he was great, and it was a great David Schwimmer role. It was like perfect for him. The guy, the kind of nerdy guidance counselor. Um, was great. I mean, yeah, Brian Singer directed it, and even Joshua Jackson is in it. He's like his best friend in the movie, like a baby Joshua Jackson. He looks like he's 15 in this movie.
Right.
I don't know how actually old he is, but anyway. And then I mean, of course, the Nazi history. They do have a lot of real history stuff in there. Obviously, there's some fake history stuff in there, like young Ian McKellen in a SS uniform is obviously fake, but it's interesting. It's interesting. Um, but yeah, that I said I don't. Again, I kind of put the book differences crossing between highs and lows because yeah, there's a lot more fucked up stuff that happens in the story versus the movie. But I think ultimately the movie ends in a worse place,
Mhm.
even though I guess arguably like it sounds worse in the book, but I think it is worse in the film because he actually becomes he actually becomes that evil Nazi officer in real life. Where in the book he just kind of like loses his mind and gets shot and killed. I mean,
Right.
yeah, he kills other people, but yeah, his mind just kind of snaps and he realizes what happened to him.
Right.
But anyway, that's what I got. What do you got?
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. Ian McKellen, like that sequencing of the march was just like shot and cut perfectly, and just showing like his range of just being a puppet to the kid, to like something clicking in his head and falling right back in line, you know, to the point that he was scaring the shit out of the kid. I think he portrayed that really well. I think he portrayed everything just perfectly. The conniving, just the glances he would do. Ian McKellen really was the star, as far as I'm concerned, of this movie.
Yeah, I mean, and the awards show that, but yeah, still, I don't know why it wasn't just regular actor, not supporting actor. It's very odd to me, but yeah, it's like that's the thing is like the kid is so obsessed with Nazis. I want to hear everything, and then he hears everything, and it fucks him up.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not something that your brain needs to process. Like from someone who is like was cool with it.
Right.
And then yeah, like again, McKellen continually steps over that line, knowing that it's messing him up.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, again, you're gonna get what you want. You're gonna mess with me, I'm gonna mess with you right back.
Oh yeah, they explicitly state that probably like hour and 20 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is just as different to see like a more drama side of a Stephen King movie. Like I said, we're in that era. I'd say the more drama side Stephen King stuff came out at this time frame. And like I said, I'm glad they did the difference from the book, because this made a compelling story that there's always scenes in Stephen King books that, like, I'm glad they didn't put that to film, right? And I think this was cut and taken from the novella just really well. As much as little as Elias is in this, I think he's fantastic. This is about the same time that Fallen came out, right? 98.
Yeah, right about there.
I think he played that character well. And of course the bad ending. Like, that kid's like, okay, what the fuck's gonna happen with him now? Like, he's already shown that he can manipulate, Mr. French the same way that he was manipulated. He's got to that point. Like, he killed the pigeon with basketball. He killed, the homeless guy. What more can he potentially do? And now he's just free upon the world to do whatever he feels like. And nothing really bad happened to him for doing this stuff. I'll roll into my low points. The chances are pretty damn slim that he's going to randomly spot a Nazi officer on the bus and be able to identify him 40 years later after the pictures were taken, and be in the town that he lives in. Damn near slim. And the level of absurdity of the odds of the Holocaust survivor being in the bed in the hospital at the same time the officer that killed his wife and children was there is just astronomical.
Right. Anyway, at this point, you basically have to say it's fate, right? But
Right.
even then, it's like, okay, why the fuck did you let him live to be 90 years old before? Like, if fate exists, why did you let him wait till he was 90 before you did it?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just like, like I said, the first time, sure, maybe. Second time, no way. There's no way that ever that coincidences would be there. Obviously, of course, Nazis bad. Yeah, and like I said, it just is kind of an introduction to the side of Bryan Singer. Like I said, you can see his works. Obviously, some bad things happened with it, but it stemmed from this. And of course, I personally don't feel like the main kid was good in this movie. Like, that stare he had was just annoying to me. He had his
I
entire
said I think he did a passable job. It wasn't great. It was passable. He did a good enough job to let Ian McKellen do what he needed to do.
And maybe that's the issue. Maybe Ian McKellen was so fantastic that the other actors around him weren't as good.
Well, for being a kid actor, I think he did well. But again, he just did a passable job. It wasn't fantastic, but it also wasn't bad. And like he just, you know, did exactly what he was supposed to do. And that unfortunately Ian McKellen being who he is, yeah, it's hard to shine next to that, right? So
Right. Um. Really, that's all I got for my low points. How about you?
um yeah, the I don't know how strange it would be for a kid to have that level of a Nazi Holocaust obsession at 16 years old.
Right.
I mean, I think they're kind of sort of alluding to the fact that, him being 16, skipping ahead grades, he seems like he can't really connect with his other schoolmates and stuff. I mean, maybe it's an autism thing, right? Like maybe he's obsessed with the Holocaust, but he doesn't really give a shit about his friends or women that are throwing themselves at him. I think he's got to be on the spectrum, right?
Maybe. Yeah.
And that makes sense to me. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that makes sense to me.
Well, the girl was literally had his pants open and just like, nope.
Yeah, yeah. Again, like I said, it's got to be on the spectrum. I don't know how else that works. Anyway, the gym shower, very unnecessary, and I was like, wait, what? And I was like, oh, I guess this is a Bryan Singer movie. I was like, please don't. There's a lot of like weird, needless animal violence in this movie. Like there's this weird scene where Ian McKellen, like when he is finally like opens the gate and like starts to become that Nazi officer again. He like tries to put a cat in the oven.
Yes, he did try.
The cat gets away, but it's still weird. It's a very weird scene. And then there's another scene where the kid is also like embracing the evil side of him, where he like kills a wounded pigeon with a basketball,
And he
which
like
is
menacingly, dribbles the ball towards it versus forward.
right. Yeah, it's like it's very odd. I understand it's very easy for people to like. It's one of those things in film, right? So where like if you want somebody to be bad, you have them hurt an animal,
Mhm.
right? Everybody now knows this person is bad. It doesn't matter who you are, right? Now, if you want them to be a good person, you just have the animal like them,
Right.
right? There you go. Everybody knows he's a good person, no matter how horrible the shit is that he's doing. If the dog likes him, he's a good guy. And the opposite is true. No matter how good of things he's doing, if the dog doesn't like him, he's bad. It's
Yeah.
just this weird trope in film that's fine, but it's just they always have people injuring fucking animals all the time, like every goddamn movie. It's especially prevalent in horror movies.
Oh, easily.
Yeah, like you said, your magical coincidences. I don't even want to know and go to the odds of how likely that is to fucking happen. Like, not only would they be in the same hospital, but in the same fucking room. That's
Yeah.
messed up. It's very messed up. Anyway, and yeah, I think the kid never gets punished, right?
Yeah.
Like that sucks. But again, I also, like I said, the book differences kind of skirt both sides. Um, the bad part of that book differences is that weird fucking Jewish girl rape scene. It's bizarre. I mean, I guess this was Stephen King's like coke stage, but
Yes, it was.
there's a lot of weird rape scenes in his books around this time. And then just like this fantasy of the camps, like the kid was like fantasizing about like having his own camp or being at one. It's very, very, very bad and weird. But yeah, so as far as that goes, the book difference, it goes both ways, but I think it ends up evening out. And I think the film is good.
Mhm.
Like I said, if it went a little too deep into it, I don't think there would be any redeeming for that kid at all. But
No.
in film world, but that's it. That's all I got. So apt pupil 1998. This week we're going with ancient Nazis because all these movies have ancient Nazis in them. So ancient Nazis out of 10. You want me to go first or do you want to go first?
I'll go first. This is like I said, this is an interesting movie. Like I said, and it's well made. It is well together, and I feel like this is kind of like after a year or two of this being out, it kind of just disappeared from people's radar. It's not a work of Stephen King's that is talked about, 26 years later. Like, we still talk about, you know, it from 1990. We still talk about Green Mile. We still talk about Shawshank Redemption and all that stuff. This kind of fades away into obscurity, unfortunately. But that being said, it is a well-made movie. It just, you know, the beats are correct for a drama slash thriller. So I will give this 8.5 ancient Nazis out of 10. What about you?
Yeah, I'm right around there. Like I said, it's a great movie. I don't watch it that often, but I have rewatched it several times, and it's still interesting. Yeah, you can't watch it too often, but
Right.
it's still a good movie to rewatch. I do like it a lot. So yeah, I'll give it we'll say 7.75 ancient Nazis out of 10. Okay, so up next we have the Outpost. I know there's a lot of outposts. There's probably as many outposts as there are bunkers, but this is specifically the Outpost from 2008, starring our good friend and honored dead Ray Stevenson.
And Richard Brake.
Richard Brake,
Brake,
yes.
yes. Yeah. So I mean, the synopsis of the movie is going to be pretty short because it's not a lot necessarily to it. So essentially, we open up with I guess you'd call them a mercenary team, right?
Yeah, that's
Because
exactly what they are.
they're from all walks of like, you know, I think maybe like, Haitian guy. You have a couple of British guys.
He was from a country that has child soldiers and ethnic cleansing. So
Yeah.
he was probably from like Rwanda or something.
Yeah, and then and the hick, Richard Brake,
Yeah, they actually refer to as the redneck.
the redneck. Yeah, and he's actually not a bad guy in this movie, which is weird because I had never seen this movie before. So
Yeah.
essentially, their job is to essentially escort this businessman slash scientist to this ancient bunker in Eastern Europe. And, when they get there, they all have, which is funny, they all have their own special guns that they like. Everyone has a different gun because they're mercenaries, so they can bring whatever they feel like. And they get to this outpost, this bunker, and immediately start getting shot at. Hit and miss whether they're in good cover or not. That's for another point of this discussion of this movie. Eventually they make their way into the bunker, and they're just trying to figure out what the hell is going on there. Somehow, they get in there, and like a sensor gets tripped, and power comes back on with floor lights, ceiling lights, and Richard Brake is in front of a projector that turns on. It's like, oh, I'm gonna move the projector screen up, and what's behind that? A swastika flag. Oh shit! This is a German bunker from World War II. And yeah, like I said, just some spooky things ensue. We see some, the classic tropes of something running in front of the camera that we don't see who it is, and they have to quickly turn around and just miss it. To the point where they're figuring out what the hell is going on there, and then you realize they're pinned down outside. They have to try to make a break for it. And Ray Stevenson is arguing with the scientists, like, "Hey, we need to figure out what's going on here. This is the mission." He even calls them like not a good soldier for like wanting to retreat from a battle. He's like, no, we're not retreating. We're getting the hell out of here. We are outnumbered. We are outgunned. We are outwitted. We cannot win this. But they're saying, oh, the people here that the business sent me here will, go after your family, everyone's family, if you don't adhere to this and this research that we're trying to do. And then you start to get introduced to zombies slash ghost Nazi soldiers is the best way of putting it. Sorry, I should also mention that when they get into the bunker, they find a pile of dead bodies and they have a breather, and this guy is saying nothing. Like, okay, he survived, but what's wrong with him? And I'll spoil it now. They slowly learn to find out that he was a soldier, a Nazi soldier that was experimented on with this uh, ex machina device, essentially. You know that,
It was a unified field generator.
yeah. So they found essentially a way to make unkillable Nazi soldiers with this device that they experimented on. At this point in time, 60 years ago, right? And we kind of get the mercenary unit getting picked off one by one, like the two guys stationed outside just get brutally killed and like I guess like almost rebarred together to the point like, okay, this is absurd. Like, we have to get the hell out of here. And the scientist guy, no, we gotta stay. The thing about the company's like, I don't care, we're getting out of here. And then the invasion kind of happens at the bunker, where the ghostly apparitions kind of disappear, reappear, kill people off one by one. And they think they're going to be able to get out of there because the scientist is able to essentially shut down the unified field generator and nullify the living powers of the Nazi zombies / ghosts. And oh wait, no, something's short circuited, and well, they're all back on. And like, okay, what do we do? And they're trying to fight their way out. And I mentioned before that scientists trying to say, hey, this team failed. They're like, okay, it's gonna be 72 hours before the next team can come here and take care of this, because they want to have this knowledge and power of themselves. But yeah, they pretty much get slaughtered eventually, and kind of the movie kind of closes out with the next team coming in here and finding that there's one person, there's still a breather, and essentially going to start this process all over again. I don't think I missed many too important beats there. I'd say the first 20-ish minutes, 30-ish minutes are mercenary stuff. Then we get into
they're introducing you to the characters.
Yeah. So kind of like what we saw last week's episode, where we have this team, and it's not, the supernatural stuff doesn't really happen until like the halfway point of the movie. But yeah, that's the gist. Like I said, did I miss anything important?
No.
Okay. Now for me, this is my first time seeing this. Have you seen this one before?
I have, but it's been a while. Like I said, the only thing I really remembered was that it was modern day and it had Nazi stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew it would fit in this list. But other than that, I didn't remember much about it.
Yeah, this was an interesting movie. Does it feel like it was maybe straight to DVD? Yes, it might have been.
Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing any media out advertising this film at all.
No.
I'm pretty sure I rented it from Netflix, like back when you get discs from Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
like that. Because I would always look through certain categories, and I think it popped up there. I don't know. I watched a lot of movies during that time.
Yeah, but I said this was. Yeah, and you're right. There's like, I'm looking at outputs. I'm like 2023, 2022, 2019.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Like,
there's a lot of them.
But yeah, that's why we have our list, just to make sure.
There's even a TV show called The Outpost.
There is, and there's episodes of TV shows called The Outpost.
There sure is. I was searching. I'm like, oh shit, I hope he doesn't get lost.
No, but I definitely watched the right one. Like, there's parts of it that I rewatched again. Right. Sometimes, I get distracted while watching the movie, so I'm like, okay, I wasn't necessarily paying attention to like 5 to 7 minutes of it. I go back and rewatch it, and I did that for this one. I go, yeah, this is a interesting MacGuffin that they have here. This field generator machine. So it's definitely a unique movie, especially in its story. Yeah, it's still the idea of like we saw, stuff happen during World War II of the unkillable, 1,000-year reign of Nazis. That idea being taken and now explored with like Einstein's unified theory of relativity. I'm just going, that's an interesting way to do it.
Right.
So I will. Do you want to do your?
You do your high points first.
All right. Like I said, the idea of using Einstein's work in general relativity in field theory, is like it's a scientific approach to it more so than the mysterious goo that exists under a town of France or anything like that.
Right.
It's not. Yes, it's more sci-fi than supernatural, which is an interesting way to do it. So I appreciate that. Are they ghosts? Or are they zombies? Are they both? Are they ghost zombies? Yes, they can.
Exactly. All of the above.
So I don't think I've ever seen the idea of something that's being undead also able to act like a ghost and just appear and disappear at will. So kudos to the movie for doing something unique like that. I definitely have never seen. Also, it's a bad ending. They all die, and it just resets up for the new team. It's kind of like this. Who knows how long it's ever going to happen? It almost feels like the idea of, Army of the Dead, where they weren't the first team trying to get the money or trying to get the head of the zombie, and it's just a repeat cycle that happens for who knows how long. So, and of course, Richard Brake. He's fantastic. Everything he does, doesn't matter how big the part is, he's memorable in what he does. What do you have for your highlights?
Yeah, so I really like the mercenary team aspect of it. I thought it was cool. They had a lot of people from all over. They had the Russian guy, the English guy, another English guy who had France on his jacket. So I can only assume that he was like a French Foreign Legion guy or something. I'm like, why would he have France on his coat? He's obviously English. But I was like, oh yeah, they got the French Foreign Legion. Maybe he was a Foreign Legion guy because Foreign Legion is like they're like elite people. So it would be highly likely that he would be a mercenary. So
Yeah,
I guess that makes sense. But yeah, there's like the dude that was from Africa that was like talking about how he was a child soldier and he had killed somebody when he was like 15. Like
and he enjoyed it.
Right, yeah. So it was like, yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, Ray Stevenson is like the dad. He's the officer, the guy that tells him what to do. And even then, he still has kind of a hard time corralling these guys because they got a lot of mercenaries got big egos.
Yeah.
But I thought it was a good. It was interesting the way that they kind of put them all together like that. It's a little bit of the kind of storyline that I like, where you just get a bunch of people and you put them together and they don't know who they are or what's going on. It's similar to that. Obviously, they know what the job is, but like they don't know each other. I thought that was anyway. That was good. I thought Ray Stevenson, Richard Brake again. They were great. Everybody else was, whatever. they were there. They're okay. We'll get into that in low points. But it was good. And the thing I really like about this movie is every fucking movie that you watch that has supernatural bullshit in it, right? Where it's like fucking ghosts or the devil or whatever it is, right? There's always some scene where some person goes, "There's got to be a logical explanation for this." Right? And this movie that's fucking true. That absolutely happens, and that's what's great because most of the time it's just like that guy dies right after that, right? By some ghost that mystically appears, and then it's like, oh, it's all out the window. It's supernatural. This one, it embraces that, and it goes, you're right. There is a logical explanation for this. It doesn't really make more sense, right? Yeah, it's still ghosty things are happening, but at least it goes, hey, here's the reason for this, right? Here's some like, very loose hand wavium thing, right? That's like, here you go. That's technical ghosts, right? But they act like ghosts. They look like ghosts. They do all ghosty things, but they're not ghosts. They're technological. So I just thought that was great that they had the scene where the guy goes, there's got to be a logical explanation for this. And there fucking was.
Yeah.
And I like that because movies never ever do that. Any kind of movies with stuff like this in it, they never do that. They always kill that guy and then just go, oh, you're the loser that can't understand supernatural stuff.
Right.
And
they're
yeah,
like,
and I like the
here's the room that we house this device in the next place.
right, yeah. So yeah, I did like the ending and the loop. That was interesting, and they didn't actually say who the breather was in that room, right?
Correct.
Like it might have been that the Nazi commander guy again, or it might have been that English dude. We don't know.
Correct. I was debating which one it was.
Right.
I was debating. I thought maybe it'd definitely be him or the original Nazi leader, right? That they
Yeah, who
found
knows?
him.
Yeah, did it loop back to the beginning, like with him back in there, or did it start a new loop? You know, who knows? It's just an interesting ending.
Right.
I'll roll into my low points here. Okay, some of those accents were a little forced. You know what I'm saying? Like that dude from Africa, like, man, it sounded like he was talking real slow to make sure he said every word correctly in his, designated accent. Like some of those guys, it's like, okay, I mean, I understand we're supposed to be from different countries and stuff here. I get it, but like, wow, you know, you don't have to go to like dialect school to like, say these accents that way. Thankfully, most of those guys died off quickly.
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. It was still fun. Having a wide range of different people in there. I was thinking some of them were a little forced. But yeah, Nazi ghosts. um, Interesting, right? I mean, they weren't really ghosts. They weren't really zombies. But the things I did, I guess I should have put this on the like side, but I thought it was interesting that after having been ghosts for so long, right? They don't have any more bullets. That's why they're fighting with knives and shit. It's because you got to imagine like an SS team has only a certain amount of ammo, right?
Right.
And they've been there for whatever 70 years or however long they've been there. So like they fired like one shot, and that one bullet that went in the guy's arm, then they took it out. They were like, look at this bullet, this thing's all fucked up. Like it should have blew up the gun. It's all messed up. But it was because it was like traveling through time and fucking space when it got shot.
Yep.
So whatever. It was interesting little stuff like that. And then again, like when the Nazis are fighting at the end, yeah, they don't have guns or bullets anymore. Like the guns are there, but they don't have bullets. So they're like literally fighting with their knives. But it didn't matter because they were invincible.
Oh yeah, they are stabbing the shit out of people.
Right, but that's why, because they don't have any bullets because they've been there for 70 years. They don't have ghost bullet replacement people. Like
Right.
you're not going to get ammo supply drops. So it was just interesting that they knew that they were there, and obviously they ran out of bullets and stuff. So it was just interesting. Okay, now there was this scene where they were like supposedly watching a film, right? Because they had all the film grandy stuff on it, so they're supposedly watching this like reel to reel film from the World War II, and it had obvious CGI in it.
Yes.
Like those cartoony like Nazis marching and shit like that. That was like obviously 3D CGI, which they obviously did not fucking have in 1945. I was just like, I understand like you want that to be a cool thing you put in the movie, but like they had animation in 1945. You could have used 1945 animation. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like Looney Tunes was in 45. You could have made it look like Looney Tunes. Like, what are you doing? Why is this CGI? It's supposed to be in a World War II bunker. It was bizarre. And then you have the Nazis won, which nobody likes when Nazis win.
Well, Nazis do.
Oh, yeah, especially when they're like not really on our plane of existence or whatever. But yeah,
Right.
that's not good. But yeah, that's all I got. What do you got?
All right. No offense to whoever the DP was, the director of photography of this movie was, but goddamn, learn your saturation levels. The day scenes were just like blown out. You know what I mean? It was very jarring. The first half of the movie. I mean, it was almost like black and white level saturation that was there. I didn't like that at all.
I don't know what that means, but I'm assuming that it's Eastern Europe, and it just looks like that.
Okay, just gray.
It's very depressing, and it like seeps into the earth, so that's why it looks like that.
It's like it's like the essentially a shot with too many lights, so it's just like everything is blown out from the light. But yeah, maybe Eastern Europe does just look like that. That's fair.
See,
The bad CGI was bad CGI. It you know it was that. I would say for being a group of mercenaries, they sure shot like they had infinite ammo.
well, I'm sure they had a lot. If you notice, like every single one of them had like 14 ammo pouches on their belt.
Yeah, but they were shooting like there's no tomorrow. Even at the beginning, though, before they didn't realize they were ghost zombies. So, yeah, and that MacGuffin was weird to say this. Like I said, I like the physics part of it, but it's like, oh, it's working. Oh, it's short circuited. So, did they allude to that they can't leave that field at all, and that's why they haven't left?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what they were going to take that generator with them, and then the ghost would presumably be attached to it as well.
Well, I believe the second team was probably a science team that was going to be there to figure out what the fuck it is and how it works. Yeah, the guy wasn't there to turn it on. He was just there to look at it, verify it is what it is, and then call the second team in if it is what they think it is. And that's what he did. That's why he's like, yeah, it looks like it. Take all your tasks necessary. Do what you got to do. Get down here. Which I think the hardest thing to believe was that if somebody is that obsessed with getting that thing to like hire that guy and send him down there, they should be fucking waiting.
Yes.
Like 72 hours in like mercenary world, that's like forever.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like 72 hours, if there's like a hostage taken, they are fucking dead in 72 hours. I'm sorry. Like that's unacceptable time frame. I don't know what they were doing. 72 hours. That's bullshit.
Yeah. I don't disagree.
But yeah, if you're waiting on something that important that can be that interesting and there's a possibility that might be true and the guy says, hey, it's true, get down here immediately, they should fucking be there like within, I don't know, 4 hours. Get a helicopter down there. I mean, what the fuck? Yeah. why would you be 72 hours? What are you doing? Walking here?
Yeah, because of what they were they're there overnight. So what? Maybe they're there 12 hours at most.
Yeah, total. Yeah, the entire film they were there for maybe 12 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, 72 hours after being acknowledged is
right. It's like, what the hell were you doing? Like they're all in a fucking hot tub,
Yeah.
Oh, it's ready to go. Oh shit. All right. Yeah, I guess I'll start making phone calls. Like, dude, you should be ready to go. You should have the helicopter with the big magnetic thing on the bottom of it, like right now.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that the some of the plot just didn't make sense story wise. So, that's all I got.
All right. So we go. Number of ancient Nazis out of 10 for 2008's The Outpost. I don't care. I love this movie. You can fucking bitch and whine and complain about your saturation and how the plot doesn't make sense, but I like it. So I'm going to give it an 8.25 ancient Nazis out of
10. And that's okay. This is why there's two of us here. Because everyone knows that listens, I love cheesy shit. You have your wheelhouse too. So, like I said, it's not an awful movie. It's just confusing at parts. Maybe I need to watch it more than once because this is my first time seeing it. I will give this let's go with 6.5 ancient Nazis out of 10. I said they had some sound interesting science theories behind it, which is unique.
Well, it's unique and just that they don't just give up.
Right.
Because most of the time they're just like, oh, I guess it's not logical. It's just ghosts or the devil. That's what they usually do in these movies. There's no actual explanation. It just happens. This one is like they actually give you an explanation. That may or may not be true. You don't actually know that, but at least they give you something. The guy that says there's got to be a logical explanation for this was absolutely right. There is.
Yep. Yeah. All right.
Now, see, this was the movie for me, and this next one is the movie for you. This is your kind of movie.
Oh, trust me. schlocky is on my good points of this movie. So
I'll let you can take this one because this is your kind of fucking movie. Now, I will say it took me a while to find the right subtitles for this fucking movie,
God damn, yes, it
but
did.
I eventually found one that was close enough.
I forgot this was Norwegian.
Right. You know, I've seen this before. I did not remember it was in Norwegian. I guess I didn't care.
Also,
But
considering Martin Starr is in the second one.
well, the second one did not exist when I saw this first one, so
Yeah.
I didn't even really know the second one existed until I was looking this up. I was like, "There's really a second one?" Yeah, it looks like the second one has a bigger production budget than the first one did,
Mhm.
which is odd to me. But yeah, it's like the second one is in English, the first one is in fucking Norwegian.
Yeah, but it also says English is spoken, which is true. There are a couple of English words in there.
Yeah, he says, "I'll be back." That's like that. That's it. That's,
He says beer.
oh, that's right. He goes beer, beer, beer.
Yep.
That's like there's it.
So essentially, just imagine a Norwegian independent micro budget horror movie with people going to a cabin in Norway in the middle of winter and then naming all
Correction.
the
It's Norway. It's always winter.
and then naming all the movies that people didn't have cell phone receptions or a group of cabins, a cabin and a group of friends. They all named stuff from the 80s because no one had cell phones then. At one point, I pointed out they continue to list off movies just to get their movie listing under their belt that they have to point to.
Because all fucking schlocky movies like this, I'm sorry, I have to say it. I don't know why they fucking do it. They always have to talk about other fucking movies all the time.
Mhm.
It's so fucking. It makes me so angry. Just shut the fuck up and make your own movie. Why do you have to keep talking about other movies all the time?
Yeah,
It's so annoying.
Yeah, they name Friday the 13th, Evil Dead 1 and 2, and April Fool's Day. And spoiler right now, 2 of those movies are not about a group of friends going to a cabin. Friday the 13th is a camp with kids.
But they are in cabins.
Yes, but April Fool's Day, not that in the slightest.
Well, I mean, like, the first Friday the 13th is kind of like that because the kids are gone.
But it's not like a group of friends going on a vacation retreat like Evil Dead.
Well, correct. But it's like, it's like the first Friday the 13th was like, all the kids are gone. Now we get to have our own party, which is similar.
Yeah, but a lot of these people didn't know each other before the events of the movie. So.
Correct.
Anyway, so they get that out of the way. They go to the cabin. One guy's like, I have this snowmobile just hidden here under a garbage bag. Follow the trails. It'll take you 45 minutes of hiking.
Okay, cool. Now I'm going to say the thing that was very off-putting was that the fucking thing was a pull start. It's like, you're telling me in 2009 you don't have a fucking key or a button to start this thing? You got to pull start the fucking snowmobile? Is that normal? I don't know. I don't go on snowmobiles. Have you ever been on a snowmobile?
No, but also I don't think you should be popping wheelies in your only mode of transportation.
Or catching like 10 feet of air off of a fucking snow dune.
Yeah.
Probably not a good idea.
Anyway, so it's a group of 4 guys and 3 girls. Names don't fucking matter. One guy's like, this is my girlfriend's cabin. She's out doing other things, so she's not here.
Right. How odd is that?
Like, extremely.
This is her cabin, but she ain't here. Oh, well, let's party. Like,
basically, they couldn't find a 4th actress. So they said, we had this girl written.
She was there. The girl that died in the prologue.
Oh, yeah.
That was her. That was why she died in the prologue.
That's right.
That was Sarah. They showed her for like a half a second later on.
You're right. Yeah, I forgot about that. So anyway, it just think of things that happen in this, the people hooking up, figuring out drinking pilsners and only pilsners. And then they start dying off one by one after boning in a frozen outhouse.
Dude.
That's on
We'll
my
talk
list,
about that later. Holy fucking shit, was that gross.
Yeah. So like I said, they start dying off and they find out that, oh, wait, it's zombies. Don't get bitten by them, even though no one turns into it after multiple people being bitten. and they start dying one by one. They come to find out it's, they have the you can't have the old guy riding the bike or the gas station attendant there to warn them about this craziness. So a guy just appears at this cabin that is a fucking hike for them.
Yeah, like he literally opens the door. He's like, "What's up, bitches? Give me some coffee."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Okay."
You don't know the story? What story? Well, during World War II, Nazis were here, and the town folk didn't like this, so they killed all 300 Nazis.
Yeah, he's like, "Now my expedition is over. Hold on, let me fucking choke you for a second. Bye."
I don't believe you.
Wait, what?
You better listen to me.
Like, this guy is fucked up. Call the police.
Right.
Something bad is gonna happen to you.
Yeah. But he gets, killed by a zombie, and like I said, it's all Nazi zombies. And like I said, people just fighting off. Schlockiness ensues to the point where one guy goes, "Oh man, I was bitten." Well, you're like half Jewish or quarter Jewish. They wouldn't turn you into a Nazi zombie. It's like, oh, I better cut off my arm with a chainsaw.
Yeah, after they like basically decide, like, "Oh yeah, you're probably right. Everything looks fine." Like, wait, what? Did I miss something in this translation? Like,
And
what
then
happened?
Bit in the crotch. You just look in the chance like, oh, never mind, I'm good. And so essentially he becomes the Bruce Campbell character of the movie. He's even dressed in the blue with the chainsaw. And one guy is like, bitten repeatedly, hangs off the side of a mountain with entrails. People are able to fall off of high things and survive pretty well here in this movie.
Yeah, well, yeah, one girl ends up in a snowdrift.
Yeah.
And the other guy, okay, I don't. Have you ever like tested the tensile strength of a sausage?
Like before it pops?
Like, yeah, like you put a sausage in the casing and then pull on it and see how much force it takes to break.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that much. Now, it will not hold 300 pounds. I'm sorry, sausage casing, which is essentially what intestines are, will not hold 300 fucking pounds. No.
You mean 80-year-old decomposing zombie intestines are not stronger than rope?
Like, dear God.
So anyway, yeah, like I said, they all just die in hilarious ways, I guess. That's the way you put it. And the guy thinks he's going to escape, and no, there's, they kill like maybe 8 zombie Nazis, and then the guy's like, "Arise!" and the other 292 come out of the snow and start chasing them. And one guy gets like eviscerated through a small hole in his stomach and dies.
Now, where the fuck did that machine gun come from?
Well, he had time. He even said that he had time.
Well, no, he was in the cave. He found like some guns and bullets and shit. That happened.
Mm-hmm.
But then he got pushed out of the cave and chased.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got back to his snowmobile, and then he just pulls out a fucking MG42 like he was carrying it in his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I didn't miss something, right? I was like, wait, what? Huh?
No,
I rewound it. I'm like, where did he fucking get that from?
Well, they asked him. His response was, "I had time."
I was just like, what? Wait, what? Like, where did that come from? Like,
yes,
what's going on?
Machine mounted on a snowmobile and just like chopping up zombies and shooting them. Yes, that was a scene in the movie. Eventually, they think the last guy is going to escape, and they break open the window, and it cuts to black. End of zombies in the
right. I don't care what anybody says. That fucking dude died. I know technically he lives in the second one, but fuck that. He's dead.
3 or 4 people return in the second one.
No, only that guy officially comes back. There is a guy that's played by the same actor, but it's technically a different character.
Okay.
I did look it up.
Okay.
So, yeah, one guy, that Martin guy, the last guy that was in the car, he supposedly lives in this next one. And the other people that are definitely the same actors are just playing different characters.
Mm.
It's like a George Miller movie.
There you go. Yeah.
Like there's different, like the same actors show up playing different roles, but they're, even though they look the same, they're different people.
Right. Man, I must have seen number 2 more than the first one. because I thought I'd seen this one and I didn't. So I know I have seen number 2, Dead Snow 2.
Oh no, I've never seen the second one. I've only seen this
Because like I said, I could have sworn it's all in English. Clearly, I was wrong.
like I said, I didn't remember it being in Norwegian, but I very clearly remembered parts of this, so I know I saw this. But again, that was again at the same time as the Outpost. I was watching a lot of fucking movies at that time, so I don't. There's a lot of movies if I wasn't particularly interested in them that I just forgot a lot about. So
Yeah.
this one was like, oh yeah, great. It's fine to like drink and laugh at with a bunch of friends, but that's it. Like I
Right.
had no desire to watch it again.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. It's like I said. It's a schlocky, micro budget zombie movie in Norway. Do you want me to do? You want to do your highlights first?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. Now I will. Again, it's. I understand that everyone in this world is going to call the undead people in this film zombies, right? Really, they're not zombies.
No.
I know you're going to be upset about that, but they're not zombies because in Norwegian folklore they're called draugur, and they're not zombies in the fact that they are undead. Yes, they are like physical beings. They're not like ghosts or spiritual or anything. They have a lot of similarities to zombies, but the Draugr are specifically there to guard treasure. Now, and when somebody takes that treasure, that's when they reanimate, and they exist before then. It's not like they only come out of the ground when that happens. They do exist before then, but they really only care about their shit. And once that shit is touched or taken, that's when they will come after you and never stop until they're either decapitated. Their folklore does specifically say decapitation kills them, or they get their shit back. And once they get their shit back, they just go back to where they came from, usually in their grave mounds, because the Norwegians, Vikings used mounds when they
Mhm.
buried their dead. And yeah, but that was the whole thing. So that's why they were going after the gold, and that's why at the very end, Martin finds the gold in his pocket and realizes that's why they've been chasing him and trying to kill him the whole time, is because he had a piece of gold in his pocket.
Mhm.
And again, when they killed the other dude, he pulled a pocket watch out of his pocket. Again, like everybody who they were going after had a piece of their treasure. Which
Right.
I guess there was a scene where they showed them playing with the treasure and throwing it around, and like some people, accidentally got it in their pocket. It was dumb shit, right?
Right.
And so I'm guessing, I don't know if they showed the piece of this or not, but they did show the guy drop a gold coin on the ground when he was walking to the outhouse.
Mhm.
I can only assume that the creepy old man picked that up. And
Because
that's
there's no
why they
reason for
got
him. Yeah. There's no
right,
reason
because
for him to
otherwise
get
there's no
killed.
reason for him to get killed because he wasn't a part of it.
Right.
So I can only assume that he picked that up because they never showed what happened to that. And I
That's
was
true.
like, like I was like, because I'm sitting there thinking, why did they kill that guy? If they're truly like Draugr, right? Because that's the folklore. Anyway, distill it all down. I just think it's interesting how different cultures have different ways of looking at monsters, even in the modern day.
Mhm.
Like we've already talked about vampires, werewolves, how they're different in different cultures. And again, this is like zombies as we see them as zombies, right? But in Norway, they're Draugr, right? They're specifically about greed and about keeping things after they're dead, which is a lot different from our zombies, which are just reanimated beings trying to drag you down to hell with them, right? Or drag you to the grave with them, create other zombies and eat you.
Which is interesting though, because they were still saying don't get bitten by them.
They were saying that only because they've already established that all the films exist in this world.
Right.
Therefore, if they're horror movie buffs, they're going to know these are zombies. So they're reacting as if they were zombies. Everybody that got bit in that film showed no signs of turning.
Correct.
So they were just assuming that. Again, that's like the guy chopping off his own arm. It wasn't because he showed, symptoms or anything. It was just because he thought that was going to happen. But again, he got bit in the dick, right?
Yep.
And then he was fine at the end still. And supposedly he comes back in this fucking sequel 5 years later. So like Obviously, that didn't happen. So obviously, they're not zombies in the way that we see zombies. They're zombies in the Norwegian Thraugr way. I just think it's interesting. Different cultures, the way that they view things is interesting. And I just think this is interesting. It's a Norwegian take on it, using their folklore of undead.
Mm-hmm.
And again, everyone dies. I don't give a shit that he supposedly comes back in the second one. He's fucking dead. And this, at the end of this film, he is dead. They may have changed their minds later on, and that's fine. But this one, they're all dead.
Kind of like Evil Dead 1 to 2.
Right. I did appreciate that they were dead. And two, I mean, three, the landscape. The landscape was beautiful.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know about tubing on a full start fucking snow, but you know, what do you call those things? The snow, whatever. Can't remember what you call it. But yeah. So yeah, they're like tubing out there. He's like driving over a fucking like up the snow dune and like to get like 10 feet of air off the end of them and shit. Like dear God, dude. It was like the guy who made this movie was obsessed with those things, and he just decided to put them in the movie. That was probably his personal. So yeah, so the that beautiful landscape. I don't know if I'd want to stay there. It looked very cold, but I'd rather be there than like Florida.
Yes, for sure.
That's all I got for high points. What do you got?
The cheesy and schlockiness of this movie, I do appreciate. I do like it.
Hey, that's on my list too.
Oh, on the positive side,
I haven't gotten to it yet. I'll get there in a minute.
And for the most part, practical effects. I appreciate that. You know, they could have easily gone. You know, how many movies have we seen that's just bad CGI gunshots and blood? Let's say every Sharknado and Bird, the Birdemic, and all that shit, right? But they're still trying to stick to practical effects, so I do appreciate that. No matter how cheesy it is. The story is, while it is, you know, trying to say we're like these movies because they name drop 4 of them. It is a unique story, as you know, that the isolated cabinet and that zombies, they're Nazis or Draugar that are there, and really just a different cultural aspect of it. So I do appreciate it for that. It is, you know, obviously enough to make a sequel 5 years later, so people are interested in it, and it's just like I said, it's interesting to see foreign-made horror movies to see what their belief systems are compared to ours. So I do appreciate that.
Well, let's be real here. The only reason this movie did well was because it came out during a time period where everyone was just consuming in mass quantities anything that had anything to do with zombies.
Yes.
Like the end of the 2000s was like everyone was like all of a sudden a fucking zombie expert.
Yep.
And everybody had seen every zombie movie ever made. So like when this movie came out, yes, it was micro budget. Yes, it sucked. Sorry. But everyone fucking watched it because again, it was a zombie movie that came out in the height of zombie films, and they advertised that, hey, look, it's a zombie movie. Everybody just jumped all over, even though it was a fucking Norwegian movie. It didn't matter.
Right. All right, those are my highlights. I'll go into my low points. Number 1, outdoor outhouses in the snow. Number 2, having sex instead of frozen outhouse outside.
Okay, I'll give you number
falling
3
into the toilet.
Oh no, that's number 5. Okay, the real number fucking 3 is okay. Dude specifically fucking says it. Okay, it's not like she didn't know. Specifically says, "I'm gonna go out and take a shit."
Yep.
Right? She follows him in here not like a minute later. Okay? He is like literally unrolling the toilet paper, trying to figure out how to wipe his ass in this fucking outhouse because he can't see. Right? Doesn't even start to wipe his ass before she comes in. And one starts sucking on his fingers.
Yep.
I mean, absolutely disgusting. And then like full on boning, you know there's shit stink in there.
Yep.
You know, like she was apparently turned on by shit stink. Oh my dear God. I was like, I had to turn my head away. It was so disgusting.
That's fair. I'm sure to get to the other two ones, right? Uh, I also think that the horror movie dump unnecessary. I like I said, we say it all the time. We'll continue to say it. Fun nods here or there, fine, cool. Outright saying, "Here's movies I've seen." Cool, we've seen those too. You didn't name anything obscure.
Well, that's I just don't get all of these like schlocky fucking ha, I'm bad on purpose movies.
Mm,
Always do that. Again, it's I think they're just trying to drag because all the sorry to say this, most of the horror fans out there are kind of formulaic. Really, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of told what to like, and they're like, oh yeah, okay. So if we make a list of all the things you're supposed to like, then you should like this movie too because
yeah,
we're talking directly to the fans of this genre. So if we're saying the things that you like, that means you have to like this too. And really, it feels like that, and I don't like it.
right. I'm not sure. Winter is the perfect time for birds to lay eggs. Pretty sure it's not. Maybe it's different in Norway, but that's still a crow, and they're not going to be laying their eggs that early in winter. Um, I thought it was funny that a handful of the zombies or Dragar were wearing parkas. They got cold.
Well, they weren't called that when they became what they were. That's just what they were wearing.
I'm just saying, like every other Nazi zombie was wearing like their uniform. Like there's like one in particular zombie that's wearing a parka. Like that seems out of place.
Well, here's a little bit of history for you. Ready?
Yes.
Germany, especially Nazi Germany, was a big offender of intentionally not giving their soldiers winter weather gear to ensure that they would work harder for victory. So that's actually a historically accurate thing that most of the people there did not have real winter gear.
I'm saying the one that did just seemed really out of place. So
Well, he was probably the one guy who stole it off of somebody or something.
yeah, and you could say there's a couple things that you can point to them not being zombies in our sense that we have here. Is number one, they're using weapons. Most zombies don't use weapons or swords or knives. Number two, most zombies don't punch people and have fisticuffs with someone while they're fighting. So yeah, with maybe that, with what they are in that lore, they do all those things, but it just seems weird that they would know, I guess, the pop culture version of a zombie versus their own culture's version of a zombie. More
Right.
so,
It's exactly yeah. It's just the culture mixing, right?
yeah.
They're making a zombie film with the things that Norwegians assume about zombies
Hmm.
because all their folklore about undead creatures includes all that stuff, right? But
Yeah,
they're crossing it with the traditional definition of a zombie, which is just undead eats people.
right. So I'd rather see a full on Norwegian folklore zombie than the mixing that we got.
Technically, it wasn't mixed. Technically, it
They
was
tr-
all Norwegian.
well, they
We just
tried mixing
people
it.
called it. Well, I
Yeah,
don't think they mixed it. I think everybody just says they're zombies, and so everybody assumes that they are, but they're really not.
yeah. But that's what I got. What about you?
Um, yeah, yeah. What do you like about that schlocky, goofy comedy shit? I fucking hate that. I can't fucking stand it. It drives me insane. Like it just so low effort to me. I just instead of laughing, I just roll my eyes. Like this movie, I think gave me new grooves on the inside of my skull from my eyes rolling back so much. It was so fucking stupid. Um, the jarring music. There's so much. I mean, like they cut to a scene and all of a sudden it's like, like this crazy heavy metal that just comes out of fucking nowhere at full volume. It's like, That's unnecessary. You don't need that. Like, there's nothing happening that warrants like loud ass Norwegian metal playing. I understand Norwegians like their, death metal or black metal, whatever the hell it is. But like,
Hell yeah, they do.
calm the fuck down. Um, goddamn, that outhouse was disgusting. I literally had to turn my head away. I walked out of the room. I was like, I can't watch this. It was so gross. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of shit,
Hmm.
so like any kind of like sexual activity in the vicinity of shit is not happening in my world. Maybe that's just my own hangups. I don't. Maybe other people are into that. I guess I don't know. I'm not. But yeah, the whole this is they aren't zombies. They're Draugr, and you can tell because like what you just said. Yeah, they use the knives. They're using weapons. They're punching people. They're holding them down. They're going through their pockets and shit. Like that's not stuff that zombies do.
Yeah.
But I will say, there's no reason why they couldn't be using their guns
Sure, there was
because
budget
obviously the
wise.
dude found an MG42 with ammo, right? Okay.
Yeah.
We physically saw Nazi guns fully loaded with boxes of ammo and rifles and shit, and they never even picked them up. There's no reason for that, other than they might not have had a budget to use like the gunfire and shit like that. But like zombies trying to get back their fucking stolen Nazi gold is like they would very much be using their guns. There's no reason they wouldn't. Like the fucking asshole on his fucking snowmobile, fucking with his MG42 mounted to it. Like they're okay with that, but they can't use their own rifles. Like, what the fuck? I was so confused as to why they weren't using it. But and I will say, like the effects in this movie just were kind of annoying. Like one scene was like, okay, that looks okay, and the next scene it looked like a 12-year-old. It's like it's all over the place. I don't know if they just had a team of people that let them do whatever the hell they wanted to do. But yeah, like some scenes the CGI looks terrible, some scenes it's fine. Some scenes the practical stuff looks good, like when they like tear the guy's head in half, like that was
Hmm.
interesting. Right? When they tear the guy's limbs off, like that was interesting. But there's a lot of other scenes that just look dumb as shit. There's so many scenes of intestines being pulled out of bodies, and those intestines just look stupid. It just looks so bad. They look like rope covered in like red slime.
Well, for as strong as it probably was rope.
Yeah, it was like paracord. But yeah, it was all over the place. I would say some of the scenes were good, but some of them were so bad that it's just very inconsistent and very I didn't like it. But yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's fair. Practical effects are hard to do, especially consistently. For what I've seen, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's like they had a guy that knew what he was doing and they had him in there for like a week. Like, okay, we got this guy for 2 days. We'll do these 2 shots and then we're done. And then everybody else, everything else was done by some guy who didn't know shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it felt like.
All right, do you want me to go first?
Hey, sure, go ahead. Dead Snow, 2009. How many ancient Nazis out of 10?
That is going to get a 7.75 for me. How about you?
Yeah. I don't like these kind of fucking movies. Like these movies are not good in my mind. They upset me more than anything. Like they do all the same shit. They're all the same formula stuff and all the same bullshit. And I hate when everybody's like, "Oh, they're so great." It's like fucking Sharknado. How everybody was like, "Oh, Sharknado is so bad, it's good." Like, no, it's just fucking bad.
Oh no, Sharknado is horrible.
Yeah, it's like it's just fucking bad. But there's so many fucking idiots that are like, "It's so bad, it's good." It's like, no. Like you don't get it. Like you're making me fucking angry. Just shut up. But yeah, like stuff like that. Again, this intentionally schlocky shit pisses me off. There are movies that are schlocky because they can't afford to be anything else, and then there's movies that do it on purpose, and that just makes me angry.
Oh, everyone's doing it on purpose because they thought everyone did it intentionally in the 80s.
Right.
And they didn't.
Right, exactly. They did it because that's all they had.
Mm-hmm.
They did it because that was the best they could do, and they decided to make it fun instead of trying to be serious about it. Right. But it made the movie better. It was true in the 80s. Now it's not. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, 3.5. 3.5 ancient Nazis out of 10. I don't like it.
That's fair.
Anything else you want to say? You want to defend Dead Snow one last time?
No, we'll let it go.
All right. All right, so it's that time of the year again. The pumpkin spices are flowing. The candy corns on the grocery store shelf and in Grandma's bowl. All the spooky things are on their way. That's right. It's October. And we'll be doing what we did the last 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the last 2 years. We do twice as many episodes as we normally do. So we do 2 a week, and these will be all through October. So these rapid fire spooky shows will be filling up your feed until the end of October. And we are starting the festivities with a series of haunted house franchises. That's right, not just just single movies. We're talking franchises here. Not one, not two, but 5 different haunted house episodes. I believe one franchise has 2 episodes, so that's like 4 franchises of haunted houses.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of motels and clowns. And we're capping the whole thing off with the Terrifier franchise because it should be the third one should be out by then.
Yep.
Should be out. I think is it out on Halloween or before? It's in October sometime.
Yeah, I think it's October 13th. I'll have to double check.
Yeah, so it should be out by then. I haven't seen any of them yet, so I've intentionally not done it because I know we're gonna watch them eventually, and I didn't want to watch them twice. So I figured I'd just wait till we did it, and I'll watch them. So I'll be watching all of them for the first time. That's right. All this and more during our October Spooktacular. Did you have another name you wanted to call? I just made that up.
Pre-gaming. No, this is why we have the palate cleanser in November.
Yeah, we have to have palate cleanser in November where I get to watch what I want to watch because you make me watch all this crap. But yeah, so October Spooktacular. Get ready, it's coming. And remember, we watch bad movies, so you don't have to.
And this has been Graveyard saying, "Have you checked in the children?"
This is Salem saying, "Long live the new flesh."
Good night.
Night.